I'm excited to start breaking down this team and really going through all the different characters. But before we do that, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and again, leave a comment. Let's take a look at the team. All right, guys. So as we look at this team and break down this team, there's a couple characters out there that are starting to become kind of staples within this Sulley team. The best thing about this team is we're not really touching any of the other characters from the other teams that we've already discussed, like the Ian team. And this team can still do 800, 900,000 damage, even without having to use those tunes. So if you've seen before, I believe Cozy has a video and Gaza has a video out there of the Sulley team doing 1,000,000 damage. It is possible. The only problem is with that particular team, a lot of people are using Wendy on that team. A lot of people are using Daisy on that team. And as we've seen, Wendy really is on our Ian team, and Daisy, well, she's on a Sensational 6 team we'll talk about later. But at this point, we want to make sure that we steer away from those two characters because we really want to make sure that we are optimizing all of our teams. Let's start with the main character here around the team, and that is going to be Sulley. Sulley is your damage dealer, and this is the character that's going to do everything that you want him to do. So the one thing we want to look at here is why is Sulley doing so much damage? And that's going to be because of Not Boo's Door. So Not Boo's Door is the ability that Sulley is going to use to do all of his damage. You're really stacking the entire team around this particular skill. So the big thing about this skill is you want to make sure that the Titan has fear. That way it can do 150% more damage. And so getting fear on the Titan is the piece that takes a little bit of effort. Outside of that, having Mike on the team, you're going to get guaranteed crit power up. Again, just being another bonus to the damage, which is why you really want to have Mike with this team. But I get it. Mike is hard. He's only been here once, but he's probably coming around soon. So if I were to be looking at who to farm next, Mike may be on my list depending on which characters you're looking at next. The other thing about the skill that you need to understand is in raids, it's going to deal 50% bonus damage per hero and per Monsters Inc. teammate. So as we look at the rest of the team, we really want to make sure that we understand what we're going to do around getting more heroes on the field. And those are going to come from our summons. So we want to look at characters who can have summons that are going to help fill the field up with different heroes. The starting character we're going to use is going to be Esmeralda. Esmeralda gives you Jolly as a summon, but also she's going to be able to clear a first wave of tornadoes because we're going to be using Sulley primarily against the Tornado Titan. So with Esmeralda, the two big skills, again, that's really going to matter is creating Jolly, which is just the basic. You don't have to get too much into it. As long as Jolly is there, that's all that really matters with this team. The other one is going to be Feast of Fools is going to be able to clear out an entire line of mini tornadoes, and that's really what she's being used for here. Next up on the list is Kristoff. So again, Kristoff really isn't used on any team anymore. He used to be kind of on the Frozen team, but as you continue to get more teams for raid, you'll realize that the Frozen team kind of keeps going to the bottom of the list, and eventually you won't really use them. So what I've done is I've used Kristoff here because if you do this correctly, Kristoff can get 2 trolls off before you do your big hit. So again, increasing the amount of heroes on the field, and that's going to make a big difference when we come to the Sulley hit. So Maurice has an ability to use Fixed Up in no time. Now, a lot of people look at this and they think, oh, I can shadow Mike, and then I can create a copy of the Mike shadow. That doesn't work here. They actually have to be summons. But what's really great is as we're doing our runs, we can do the basic on Esmeralda, create Jolly early, and then have Maurice just copy Jolly. And when you're doing your runs, Maurice can actually get out 2 copies, which is why I really like Maurice. So between the 2 copies here, the 2 trolls with Kristoff, you can quickly flood that field and have all 10 slots with heroes in those slots. So the last slot, it's a pretty easy one. It's your Summoner's Chosen. Again, we're going to be used specifically Mike in this run to get the most amount of damage. If you don't have Mike unlocked, I guess if I had to choose, it'd probably be Olaf. It's not a great choice, but he is a hero, and he's not going to really interfere with any of my better teams that I have set aside for the other Chosens. So when it comes to Mike, we're going to see this. He's going to be using that scare tactics to pump up our Sulley, and then we're going to be using the Don't Let the Kid Touch You in order to help get fear on the field, give taunt over to Sulley to keep the damage off of our other characters. Now, the other thing that helps with Mike is you do have your basic, which is going to call Sulley. Just keep in mind, you have to be really aware of the damage that you're putting out because Sulley puts out a lot of damage really quick and you're going to hit empowered. Now, hitting empowered is not a bad thing, but when you're trying to get to 800,000, 900,000 damage, you want to make sure that that big hit is really the thing that's taking them into empowered. So if you have to, with Tornado and you have a couple mini tornadoes out, use your basic there to kind of throw away one of those attacks with your Sulley so that you're not empowering the tornado too quick. So his leadership is pretty good here with the level 2. If you need to make sure that you're getting fear, you can add this there. It's not very much, but again, it is going to add some more offense when they have fear. So if you're wanting to just maximize the amount of damage you're doing, you do want to put a little bit right here in his leadership. So with all that being said, these are the 5 we're going to be looking at, and we're going to take a look at a run that Bearded Dadbod put together from Kamundra on our club, and we're going to be breaking it down to show you exactly how you want to do to get a really good run. And there are a few keys within the run to make sure that you're going to get that massive damage. And so we're going to look at this run, and this was a 900k run that was done specifically with this T9 Sulley. So again, keep in mind, the more you can pump into these characters, the little bit more damage you're going to get. But there are no deltas on this team, just Sulley being T9. One thing that can make these runs way more easy is actually landing fear from Mike's passive at the beginning of these runs. As you do that, everything's going to stick. It's going to be much simpler, much quicker, but it isn't necessarily needed to still get the big numbers. It just makes it a lot easier. So you may want to forfeit a couple times if you're an heroic trying to get that fear, but I wouldn't say to take too long trying to do it. Again, it makes it a little easier, but it's not 100% needed. So you can see from the start here, we have landed fear and we've started out by just doing our goat. So basic off Esmeralda, creating the goat, starting to get our summons rolling. Next we have Kristoff, and Kristoff is going to make a troll. So like I mentioned in the breakdown of the characters, Kristoff's only job is to make trolls. It really doesn't matter what else he does as long as he's creating trolls. Next up is Mike, and we're going to use Mike's second special to go ahead and make sure that we have that 2-turn fear, really setting everything up. And then we roll into Maurice. And again, just like Kristoff, the only thing you want to do with Maurice is create copies, whether that's a troll or a Jolly, whatever makes the most sense in durability, that's what you want to start as. And the more we've tested, we've kind of started to create as many of our summons, as many of our copies as we can over on the left side as close to Sulley as possible. For some reason, they just do better if they're away from Kristoff, especially in a little bit when Kristoff starts to get the taunt and other things like that. So once we come up to Sulley, we're just going to do a basic and we're just going to do some, damage control as we're going through. We want to watch that fear, and that's when we're really going to start to figure out when we want to use these other specials. So you can see with Kristoff, we're going to throw up the taunt, target a troll. It really doesn't matter who you target, but this is going to create our taunt to get the damage away from all our summons and Sulley as we go through the process. So now with Mike, we're going to use our first special over on Sulley. Again, giving him that boost, give him that bonus in order to help him out. And you can see that Sulley has tactics, which is really going to help in a minute. So now that we're back to Sulley, we're going to go ahead and use this first special. Again, making sure that we're going to get the fear up to 2 turns on the tornado. And with tactics, that's usually going to land each time as well, and make sure that it goes up to the 2 turns. So now that we've done that, we've gotten a lot of this set up. You can see that we have a lot of our summons on the field. We're starting to fill in all the holes, and we've got the first set of mini tornadoes that's come up. So we're going to do some damage on the tornado. Again, just trying to get as much as we can. But keep in mind, you want to mitigate that. You want to make sure that you're not going to empower the tornado. So you want to do about 200k damage to the tornado. And really right here with Esmeralda, this is the part that becomes a little tricky because we're going to use Feast of Fools. And when you do that, well, sometimes the tornado gets hit with a lot of damage. Sometimes it doesn't. So make sure you're being aware of that compared to how much damage Sulley is actually laying down on the tornado as well. So by doing this, if you guys know about Esmeralda, she's going to be able to take out the tornadoes. And occasionally you have one left, and that's really not a bad thing. It helps you as you're trying to mitigate that damage. So we're getting our other troll out there. We're going to go ahead and use our basic with Sulley. And the good thing here is when we use our basic with Sulley from Mike, that is going to add that offense up, that attack up to get that extra damage coming up with the tornado. So we're just going to kind of, again, mitigate damage, throw some heals up. Don't really give the trolls anything here. Make another copy. And at this point, you can see we have all 10 slots full, all heroes. So this is going to be doing massive damage here for Sulley. We have Sulley coming up, and now we can do his big attack. And this is really what you're wanting, the attack up on him to get the most damage, so offense up. And we've got fear over on the tornado. So those are really the two big keys you're wanting, because we're going to get that crit and all that other damage, the crit power up, because we have Mike on the field. So it's going to do a pretty big shot here. So you can see right there, we just hit 500K, and this is when the tornado is going to get mad. He's going to just come after all your characters. And really, this is where, when it comes to spells, your spells aren't going to charge, but now you can use something like Bucket just to get extra damage as you're finishing out the run. Just like with most of the Titans, once they get empowered, you're just trying to get in any kind of damage that you can before you lose all of your characters. So all we do is we focus right in on the tornado. You can see the trolls are only doing 1 damage, but the Bucket is helping. We're able to do our basic. Again, even after being empowered, Sulley's still doing 40K plus, and that's where you're going to get all this extra damage here against the tornado after the fact of being empowered. So we're just finishing out the run here. We're going to be using the basic again just to call Sulley. Every little bit of damage is going to help to get up to that 800K, 900K. And you can see right there, we've got the 920,000 damage, not using Wendy, not using Daisy that we're going to use on other teams, but really just using a lot of characters that we don't use anywhere. Esmeralda is about the only other character we have on some teams when it comes to tornado, but since this is a tornado team, you're really not taking away from those. So wrapping it all up, you can see that we've done a lot of damage with this team. It's our third biggest damage dealing team behind the 2 million plus damage Ian team, the 2 million plus damage Eve team. And this is probably the third one I would tell everybody you need to start to invest in. It's going to take a little while to get Mike, but once you get Mike, you won't regret it as far as getting damage for heroic. So again, I'm really excited about that team and what you guys got to see. I'm really excited about the next team we're going to be talking about, which is our Beast and Belle team. We'll have a video coming out next week so we can really break down that and understand the mechanics and why the team is so good against Tornado as well. Let me know what else you would like to see in videos so I can create some more content for you guys and help you get through these raids as well as other game modes. And if you want to see any of this content live, make sure to check out the stream over on Twitch. Links will be in the description below. Until next time, guys, keep it easy.